Welcome back. Political experts and others are saying that unusual alliances led to the defeat of all 4 constitutional amendments. Reporter Sabrina Wilson explains.
Politics sometimes makes for strange bedfellows. A lot of religious organizations on the right allied with progressive and liberal organizations on the left on a vote no on all 4 amendment campaign. It was incredibly successful.
65% of Louisiana voters said no to Amendment 1, which would have given the Louisiana Supreme Court jurisdiction to discipline out-of-state lawyers and legislators authority to create specialty courts. The same percentage of voters rejected Amendment 2, which would have rewritten Article 7 of the Constitution, which deals with revenue and finance, the income tax rate, and more. It would have also made a $2,000 teacher stipend a permanent pay raise. 66% of voters said no to Amendment 3, which would have made it easier for lawmakers to expand the list of crimes for which juveniles could be tried as adults. And 64% of voters voted against Amendment 4, which would allow for the use of the earliest possible election date to fill judicial vacancies. Mike Sherman is Fox 8's political analyst.
The 2 things that turn voters out very often are your pocketbook and your freedom. For minority voters, the risk of juveniles being charged as adults for more crimes. For religious organizations, fearful they would lose their tax exemptions and have to pay more in taxes. Those 2 things formed a basis for a much higher voter turnout than was initially anticipated.
I think on Saturday, Louisiana voters sent a very clear message, which is if you're going to try and change our state's constitution, you can't do it through trickery and deceit.
William Most represented individuals who sued to keep Amendment 2 off the ballot.
It would destroy constitutionally protected funds for education and child health care. It would limit local control over some taxes, and it would increase taxes or allow for increases on taxes on some things and narrow constitutional protections for churches and religious organizations.
Governor Landry said in response, "We realize how hard positive change can be to implement in a state that is conditioned for failure. We will continue working to give our citizens more opportunities, to keep more of their hard-earned money and provide a better future for Louisianans." Landry also blamed billionaire George Soros, who's given to liberal causes in the past.
I may not be an expert in Louisiana politics, but I'm pretty sure that 2/3 of Louisiana voters are not George Soros funded far-left liberals.
All right, and we are very happy to have political analyst Mike Sherman with us to continue this conversation, which ended up being a very emotional election. They're not supposed to be this charged when it's, March 29th election with 4 amendments. Why did this make so many people angry, Mike?
Yeah, so each of the amendments touched off a different emotion in different groups of the electorate. For a lot of minority voters who have bad experiences with the criminal justice system in a state where we incarcerate more per capita than just about any other state in the country, the risk of more juveniles facing criminal justice turned out a lot of voters. We felt those same emotions, for example, from a lot of churches who were really fearful that with the change in how we fund our state government, there would be nowhere left to turn but nonprofits and churches. That turned out that group. I think the same could be said for a number of groups in Louisiana.
And also the conversation about you tried to get this past us. This wasn't honest. There was also that hot mic moment between him and Speaker Johnson out of the White House. What is it that the perception is he was trying to hide and get by Louisiana voters?
All right. I'm going to be anti-conventional wisdom here. So a politician using political strategy to pass an amendment, that's what they all do, right? At the local level, we see this on bond issuances when you're trying to get voters to pay more or tax themselves more. At the state level, if you are using an off-election cycle, what you are hoping is that the super chronic voters or the people in support are the ones that turn out. What worked against the governor and the legislature here is that the people who were most motivated ended up being the no votes, not the yes votes. So we saw parishes that voted strongly for Governor Landry, 15, 16 points in his favor for governor, turning out against this, these 4 constitutional amendments.
And talk about the fact that, I laugh at how this excites you because it is an off election. This is something it's also kind of strange behavior to see at such a high level of politic here. So if you're the governor trying to get back into everyone's good graces after you just told the entire state, you know what, we tried, but this is an area conditioned for failure.
Yeah.
How do you make amends?
Okay, listen, he's trying to do a lot fast, okay? Our two high turnout elections in Louisiana are a governor's race and a presidential election.
Right.
So clearly we're not expecting anyone to wait several years. The congressional elections are high watermarks. So I think the question is this. When you're proposing a constitutional amendment with such significant changes to the Constitution as these four, how do you make sure voters are properly notified, informed about the issue, and get a higher turnout? I got to tell you something, Lucy. We had over 20% turnout in Louisiana off an election cycle.
Yeah.
Louisiana voters, that was actually a very good turnout for this election cycle. So I think for the governor and the legislature, there was a message that was sent in this, possibly with regard to the power of the executive branch, possibly with how they should act during the next session, which starts in just a couple of weeks.
Okay, we will leave it at that. What do you expect for the next session?
More constitutional amendments. Listen, this is a governor who wants to do big things. He's got the legislature by his side, whether you like him or hate him. If you're a voter, stay educated, talk to your state senators, and state representatives, and I will bet we'll be back here in about 6 months talking about constitutional amendments on the fall ballot.
This is not going to be a dull session.
No, not a dull presidency, not a dull session in Louisiana. Plenty to talk about on Tuesday mornings.
We're here for it. All right.